Good morning everyone, today we're going to be talking about how I am preparing for the Geometric Labyrinth. But before we jump into that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So when people think about the Geometric Labyrinth, a lot of people are thinking, okay, this is our end game. We need to gear up. We need to spend millions of meseta to get the best in slot gear so that we could get the highest score, da-di-da-di-da. However, I'm actually not changing anything in my gear. So as we can see here, my battle power is 2189, which is relatively high compared to the average player. However, what I think is more important than just raw stats is actually your knowledge in the game. So what do I mean by knowledge? Well, first of all, it's understanding how your class works and understanding the pros and cons of each photon art that you have in your arsenal. Because keep in mind, we have a main class and a subclass. So a lot of people just put their subclass as force because there's PP eradication. So when you kill enemies, you just get PP back, which is awesome for grinding. However, in the Geometric Labyrinth, things are going to be a little bit different. You're not just mindlessly grinding something, you actually have a clear objective where you want to get from point A to point B, and there's going to be a big focus on bossing, as in each floor you do have to defeat a boss in order to proceed to the next floor. So it is in your best interest to understand how each photon art works. So for example, I am very familiar with Iris Gale as well as Lotus Lightning, simply because this is my AoE, this is my single target. However, I do not use Silver Leaf Storm very often, but this ability is extremely clutch, so I'm spending a lot of time understanding, okay, when do I use Silver Leaf Storm? How does this work? What are my guard frames? When do I get animation locked? When does the animation lock end? When can I weapon action to animation cancel? And there's a lot of practice and muscle memory that goes into understanding how a specific photon art works. And then of course we got the new photon art, Radiant Lilac. And Radiant Lilac is amazing because it's such a powerful positioning photon art. However, it does have its downsides. There is a short delay before you can cast it, and after you cast it, there is also a very short delay before you can cast a photon art. So understanding that frame data, or at the very least, like in my case, I play through feel. So I just know like, oh, it's gonna be around this long. It's gonna be around half a second of delay, or like 0.25 seconds of a delay. Like you kind of get a feel as you invest more time playing a specific class. So in order to excel in the Geometric Labyrinth, it's more about excelling in your class and knowing how to play your specific class to the best of your ability. So as I said before in the NGS headline recap, this seems to be a mashup of Divide Quest and Endless. Endless Quest was literally, we're gonna throw a bunch of random situations at you and you're gonna need to use your best judgment and play to the best of your abilities to adapt to said situation. So you shouldn't be super duper hell-bent on, oh, I need the best gear, because no matter how you build, the game is going to throw a curveball which will push you out of your comfort zone. So for example, my build has always been a little bit more on the defensive side. I have 806 defense, and then on top of that I also have Fixa guards on my armors. So this gives me a lot of tankiness. This allows me to take multiple hits. However, as we're progressing through the Geometric Labyrinth, there will be a side task where it says you cannot get hit more than 10 times as a team. Then I need to adapt my playstyle, because instead of just running in gun-ho and being like, okay, you can never kill me, so it's not a big deal, I need to play a lot more carefully. I need to understand what mobs I am fighting and how to counter them. And this is the second part of game knowledge. So I would highly recommend people who want to push in the Geometric Labyrinth and want to get those really high scores to understand how every single dread enemy works. So as we can see here, these are all the dread enemies in Alio. So understanding where their weak points are and how to physical down as well as elemental down them is very important, because you're going to need to work as a team, and if you understand the mechanics as well as the monster's weaknesses and attack patterns, you can take them down extremely quickly. This is especially important as a Katana Braver, because the Katana Braver's kit revolves around countering. So for example, when fighting the Bansher and the Banshee, it's important to understand where their weak spots are. So as we can see here, their breakpoint is their head as well as their 4 claws. If you destroy all 4 claws, it will cause it to trip when attempting to do certain attacks. So it might be in your best interest to break all 4 claws so that when you're fighting it and it tries to do a specific attack, it's just going to trip over itself and you get even more time to DPS the boss. However, this knowledge applies to all of the different varieties of the Banshers and the Banshee. So even the Thunder version, it's exactly the same, except it has an elemental attack which can inflict shock with certain attacks. So as long as you understand the basics of that specific mob type, you can deal with any variant of that specific mob type because it's going to be the same weak points and the same way to take it down. It's just that that new mob has a new skill set or has a new ability or a new elemental to it, which makes it a little bit more dangerous. So actually, if we go to titles over here and we go to enemies, you're going to notice under boss enemies, there is actually a new Bujin as well as a new Granimizer Suppressor, which I have no idea what the Granimizer is, but there is a new Bujin, which is called the Ikusa Bujin. So I'm going to assume that we will probably bump into the Ikusa Bujin inside the Geometric Labyrinth. And so it's extremely important to understand what is Bujin's weak point. Bujin's weak point is actually elemental damage. That is the main thing. You just want to spam a lot of ice spells in order to freeze Bujin so that you can take him out. However, on top of that, it is also important to understand that you need to cause 2 physical downs before you can immobilize Bujin. So not a lot of people know this. They just physical down him and they're just like, wait, why did he get up so quickly? And it's important to understand that you need to physical down Bujin twice before it actually gets stunned. So how do we fight Bujin? As a Braver, the best way to fight Bujin is understanding its attack patterns. So what do I do to learn Bujin's attack? I simply pop a purple trigger and the first boss that you fight is going to be Bujin, and I literally just practice over and over and over. Normally I would run this solo on my own time, and the moment I defeat Bujin, I would abandon the quest so it doesn't consume my purple triggers and re-enter it one more time so that I get plenty of practice against Bujin. However, I know not everyone is as patient and as crazy as me. Most people want to get something out of their time investment other than just knowledge. And if you're in that boat, that's perfectly fine as well. You can just pop regular purple triggers and just grind through the purple triggers so that you do get the rewards at the end, and just practice with your team. Because at the end of the day, it's about having fun, but also learning in the process. Because there's a lot of things in PSO2 which you can take advantage of, which will actually make boss fights a lot easier if you just understand the specific mechanics on how to take down a specific boss. So one of my favorite bosses to take down are the Daidals. So we got the Daidal Axe as well as the Daidal Sword as well as the Guitar Guy. However, their weaknesses are all the same. So you've got the back core, so the little P container, you've got the chest core which is on his chest. However, on top of this, attacking the legs of the Daidal can cause physical down, temporarily incapacitating them. Additionally, a Daidal's chest armor can only be destroyed while its chest core is exposed. Although an enraged Daidal will expose its core to utilize its chest beam, it can also use stronger variations of said attack in this state. So by knowing this knowledge, if you are a physical damage dealer, now you know that you should be focusing on the leg to cause the physical down. Once it is down, it will open up his chest, and then you hit the core, because only when the core is exposed can you destroy the chest armor. I see a lot of people who like to hit the chest on minute 1 hoping that they can break open the chest. However, that's not the case. That's not how it works. And I also see that a lot of people like to focus on the P container at the back, and sure, it is a weak point, and sure, you can break it. However, if you cause a physical down, that means the boss can't hurt you because it's immobilized, and thus you get a lot more DPS uptime when the boss isn't moving around and isn't a threat. And this is why I like to focus on the leg. And by understanding how to take out Daidals, this will also speed up the process that you can progress through the Geometric Labyrinth as you are racing against the clock. So what is the takeaway from this video? Well, I just want you guys to understand that sure, gear is important. Having all of this awesome gear, having 60-70% potency is really awesome. However, that is not the full story. Understanding how to counter, when to counter, how to dodge, how to iframe, how to take down specific bosses. All of this game knowledge will actually serve you better and allow you to progress further in the Geometric Labyrinth than just gear and raw stats alone. But don't get me wrong, gear is still important. don't think that you can jump in with some prim armors and a silver prim sword and get to, you know, the last level easy peasy, because I don't think you'll get there easy peasy simply because of the time constraint. Sure, if you have the game knowledge, you could probably beat the entire thing, but I don't think you'll have enough time to do it unless you decide to run it solo, since it will scale off your battle power as well as your level. So in conclusion, what should you be doing before the Geometric Labyrinth comes out? Simply play the game, understand your class a little bit better, and remember, the Geometric Labyrinth has titles and rewards for every specific class you play, because each class has its individual scoring system, and I would not be surprised if they do put up a leaderboard later down the line, where if you're the first place person, you get a bunch of star gems or you get some sort of cosmetic reward. I would not be surprised at all if Sega puts that into the game, so it is in your best interest to understand at the very least how your main class works, so that you're comfortable around specific bosses and you know how to take down these bosses efficiently and effectively, and most importantly, of course, is that you have fun. Remember, you can run the Geometric Labyrinth solo, you can run it with a group, you can approach this endgame content however you want. I just want to remind everyone not to super hyper focus on gear alone. Having some really nice capsules as well as really high battle power is really nice to have, but at the end of the day, on the higher levels, it all boils down to game knowledge, skill, and muscle memory. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, then go wild, go learn all the boss rotations, go do a ton of purple triggers. Now, you don't need to consume the purple triggers, it's all about learning, it's about the knowledge. You know, it kind of reminds me of Elden Ring, on where you go down a dungeon and then you like work your way through this dungeon, you play for like 4 hours and you finally beat it, and then you don't get any great loot, and you're just kind of like, wait, why did I go through this pain and suffering to get this stupid helmet or something? And I feel like FromSoft was like, no, it's the knowledge that you gained by completing that dungeon. That is what you earned from doing it. And the Geometric Labyrinth is going to be very similar in that case, where it's about learning how to take out specific bosses, learning when to be passive and when to be aggressive. It's going to be very, very mechanic focused and game knowledge focused. And so just like every other video game, I hope that you guys enjoy the process and enjoy learning and figuring things out in this game, because we are all on the same playing field. The JP server, the global server, we get the content at the exact same time. So we can't look over at the JP server and see what the best in slot is or the best strategies or anything. We have to figure things out ourselves, and that's the beauty of it. That is so fun. At least I find it very interesting and very fun. But enough of me rambling. End of the day, don't hyper focus on gear and have fun, okay? Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again. But anyway, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye. Alright, now for everyone's favorite part, the thumbnail. I think I'm gonna put the title as Gear Isn't Everything. Probably something like that. I'll be like, oh, facepalm. Yeah, that's the thumbnail. Alright, there's the thumbnail. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.